Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. We are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Aparo's Nonprofit Bites and Insights. These are our free webinar series where we invite volunteer experts from all different kinds of industries to share their knowledge and their expertise on topics that are relevant and pertinent to nonprofit professionals. So I am so excited to have Pete Oliver with us today. He is going to be leading us on our project management series. I want to share he's worked so hard to condense this huge topic into just 3 short 1-hour sessions. We also will have a 4th session to wrap up the series. That session, we're going to get some live demos on 3 project management tools. So if that's something you're looking into, that will be a great one to attend. But we're going to kick it off today with the introduction to project management for nonprofits. This is where we're going to get a high-level overview of key foundational principles around project management. For many of you, based on the registration, this might be a review. And if you're anything like me, some validation that you know your basics. But just so you know, this is going to set us up nicely for the following sessions that will focus more on those intermediate and advanced project management. So before I turn it over to Pete, a few housekeeping details. This webinar is being recorded. Each of you who attend will receive a follow-up email from me that includes a link to the recording as well as slide decks. And Pete has wonderfully put together this resource guide of all these different project management resources, as well as he has answered all of the questions that have come through the Q&A. So if we don't get to your question either today or in the next few sessions, just know that those answers have been answered, and I will include that into the follow-up email. So be on the lookout for that. Q&A is open for you to, the Q&A box is open for you to drop in your questions. The chat box is also available for you to use to drop in your comments and have some conversations. There's actually quite a few of you joining us right now. So if we want to get that chat warmed up, drop in your name, let us know what organization you're with, let us know who's in the room. Go ahead and get that chat started. And then finally, closed captioning is available for you to use. Just click on that CC button in the bottom, and you can either show or hide your subtitles. So like I said, a lot of new names. Welcome. If this is your first time joining an Aparo webinar, welcome and thank you. If you are new to Aparo, I want to share a little bit about what we do. So we are a nonprofit based in Charlotte that works with other nonprofits to help them with their technology and business process challenges. We do that by connecting nonprofits with skilled volunteers and corporations, and is really to help you become more efficient, more effective, so that you can focus on amplifying your impact in the communities and populations that you serve. Our services fall under 3 topics, 3 categories. I'm going to dive deeper into this later on, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but just so you know, we offer consulting services, team trainings, as well as helping you find a solution to your larger technology problem. I do want to take a minute to mention our Aparo grant program called Mission Possible. If you are a nonprofit in the Raleigh-Durham area, listen up. Registration is open for you. This is where one lucky nonprofit is going to receive $10,000 and consulting services to help make your technology dream come true. So again, if you are in the Raleigh-Durham area, registration is open for you. I will be sure to include that link into the follow-up email. You'll also get a copy of the slide deck, and in a minute, I'll drop that link in the chat as well for you to check out. And then finally, these are all the different ways to connect with us. If or when you are interested in a Aparo service, just go to our website and drop in your information in a request form, and we'll be sure to get back in touch with you. And then if you'd like to subscribe to our email list, you can stay updated on our programs, or you can reach out to me directly and I'll be happy to direct you to the right place. And then finally, if you like what we do, please consider writing a short Google review. That is it for me. I am going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And Pete, it is all yours.
Stop sharing my screen. Screen mode.
Is there something you're looking for, Pete?
Yeah, I'm looking for it, but I think it's hidden by the tool right here. I can't get to it. I think this is probably good enough.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
So anyway, okay, well, I will start on that. So first off, I became a volunteer for Paro short time ago. And my background is primarily in project management over 25 years in the technology field. I've also have some training and certification in the business area, and I've done a little bit of work in for business project management as well. Between Yenting and Sarah, they have been coaching me a little bit about the realities of life in nonprofits. Nonprofits, you're pulled in many directions. You are working on many things. You're working on all things. So one of the first things that probably has come up is that you're thinking, I have been managing projects in the nonprofit area for quite a while. Why is this topic? What do I need this for? What is the benefit of learning more about project management? One of the frameworks in the project management touts some typical results that organizations that kind of take on a different way of working that you can see possibly 50% faster time to market, 35% increase in productivity, a 50% defect reduction, and 30% happier, more engaged employees. So that's the reason why you want to do this. The topics that I'll cover today, again, as Yenting had said, foundational project management topics. I'm going to talk a little bit about exactly, what is project management. I have a few tips and tools that I'll go over. And then the bites and insights part, I will, from a high level, touch on 4 topics: Kanban boards, retrospectives, stand-ups, and user stories. And then in conclusion, I'll talk a little bit about psychological safety and the next steps. So let me catch up here. So what is project management? It's really the use of specific knowledge, skills, and tools. And project management has been developing, as a science, as an area of study for a very long time. One of the tools that's used is called a Gantt chart, which was invented by a man named Gantt that came out of the Panama Canal. And that was done in the very early 1900s. There's an organization that came into existence in 1969, Project Management International, and they centered around promoting the profession and ensuring quality standards for the profession. And again, they have competency and certification, and they promote the industry. And also, I'll say, scholarly studies on that. What exactly is a project? Well, some examples of that would be if you're selecting software to improve a business process, or If you're constructing new office space for your organization, it can be, a relief effort after a natural disaster, or expanding your services into a new geographical market. Um, Projects have a number of typical things, and one of the most important ones is that a project is always, it's temporary in nature. It has a beginning and an end. It is to reach a goal, and once you reach that goal, the project is done. And you may, uh, use the resources. The people that are working on that project may go off and start working on other projects. Other common things is the team. So there's a group of people that are working on it. It may be your own staff people. It may be volunteers. It may be outside parties and consultants that have to come in and help work on the particular project. Usually there's a budget associated with that. There's a schedule. And when you reach the end of a project, there's a set of expectations. The reason why you're doing the project is to get to an end, to achieve a goal. And the team needs to meet those. And really that's the whole point of the project. Projects are different and unique in that they're different than ongoing operations. You may have things like the onboarding of volunteers. You're constantly doing that. And there may be a process where you bring people in, you train them, and then they're ready to start working on things. You may have, I'll say, a question and answer line or a helpline or something like that. And there's constantly a flow of questions that come in, and you need to answer those to the people that are posting those. Those are more constant operations, and they differ from a project. On this slide, what you'll find is a link, and it provides a little bit more in-depth discussion on exactly what project management is, and you can follow up with that to see a little bit more about that. What I want to do is talk a little bit about what I'll call two different schools of thought on project management. So one of them has been around for a very long time. It's called plan-driven, also known as waterfall. And it is a methodology where you sit down and you start planning out a project. At the beginning of the project, you determine, what needs to be done, how it's going to be done. So there's a planning cycle at the beginning. Once that planning cycle concludes, you start going through a series of steps that will, deliver the end result of the project. And consequently, it gets very difficult to change things once you've gotten past that planning. So the second bullet there, the flexibility within waterfall tends to be lower, because what the people that are running the project, they want to keep things, I'll say stable, what they planned out at the beginning. That's not always good with a project. Some examples that I'll use, you could have a 6-month, a 1-year, a 3-year project that's going on. What do you do if something like in 2008, there's a financial crisis and things change? What do you do if there is a pandemic and all of a sudden people are no longer working in the office and all that? So the flexibility of the waterfall is one of its shortcomings. The graphic that we have here, where we show the different steps and all this, I kind of like that, because that kind of shows the flow of this. So you start off with planning, then you go to the next step, which may be assembling your team, and then you go. So every one of these, you meet a certain set of deliverables, and then you get to the end, and that's when the product, and I call it product. I'll maybe continue to use that through this talk. But think of a product that can be a service, because often in the case of the nonprofits, that's what you're doing. You're really delivering a service to a group of people. Um, so, but that's kind of a quick rundown on the waterfall. About 1990, there was a group of software developers were looking at project management, and they were saying, look, there's got to be a better way of delivering products and services to our end users. They came up with what is called the Agile Manifesto. So value driven, or you may have heard it as Agile or Scrum, takes a very different approach. And that approach, you're looking at a lot of input from the stakeholders, confirming and making sure that what you are delivering does meet the needs. The flexibility is very high. The difference is that you assemble a team, and when we talk about a team, for an agile, you assemble what we call a cross-functional team, being that everyone that's in the team has a specific area of knowledge. You may have someone that knows marketing. You may have someone that's a developer. You may have someone that has a business view of that. And they do what we call iterations. They're very short-term deadlines. And again, the graphic that we have here is very good because it shows this process. And this little loop here shows what we call an iteration. An iteration is typically between 1 month and 1 week, with the most common being about 2 weeks. And they repeat. So you can have a few iterations. You can have many iterations, and that is what is unique characteristic for the value driven. And again, it is very good at adapting to change. On my chart here, at the bottom, there's 2 links for you to follow, and you can delve a little bit deeper into the differences between, as I said, I call these 2 different schools of thought for project management. What I would like to do is shift a little bit for you now and talk a little bit about some tools and tips that will help you. One of the things is, if you're listening in on this, you are probably in charge of managing projects, or maybe a facilitator for your team, or you're looking into ways that your organization can work a little bit better. One of the things is you need to get your own house in order. If you cannot manage your own time, a team of people it's going to be difficult for them looking at you. So a couple of quick tips. Structuring your days and weeks. One of the things that's very good to do is to take a look at the week ahead. I know a lot of people that would often sign on Sunday night, take 30 minutes to an hour, look at their week ahead, look at the meetings that you have coming up. Look at, what are the deadlines that are coming up. And again, kind of plan out your week. What is it that I need to accomplish just for the week ahead? Also days. Every morning when I would start the day, I had a tendency to start very early in the morning before other people would come on. And again, I would take a look at my day and determine, okay, what are the things I absolutely have to get done today? And, maybe there are some things, but again, once your day starts, sometimes you're going to find out that you're running from one meeting to the next, or there's interruptions that come in and things like that. So that's one tip. The next is scheduling blocks of time. As I said, if you sit down and look at the week ahead, and you know that you have a big presentation that's due next Thursday, and that it's going to take you 4 hours or more to to prepare this. Block off time on your calendar, on Monday, set aside 2 hours, set aside an hour or whatever it takes, but actually block that time off on your calendar. Again, that is, again, just planning for your time so that the interruptions just don't come in and totally take over your time. When you're working with your team, the next thing is kind of prioritize yourself, disconnect when needed. So one of the first things, let your team know what's going on, as well as set an expectation with them that you want them to know what's going on. By that I mean, some things you're taking next Friday off. Put that on your calendar. Block off the entire day and set in your mail message, set your out of office, so that people know, okay, Yenting is not going to be in next Friday, so I know that I'm not going to try to go to her and get something done. That when I know she's not available. Sync your calendar with your phone. This is great. The mobile is great. I've had times when, say I have an appointment, a dental appointment, something like that, and something happens, I'm running late, and I wind up taking the call in the parking lot of the dentist's office. But as long as you have those, have all your meetings, have everything synced up with your phone, you're not out of pocket. Another thing, I mentioned about some days we find ourselves constantly running from one meeting to the next, or there's interruptions and things that keep coming up. Plan your schedule in such a way that there's actually buffer time in there. I don't know how many times that you start a meeting and you're waiting the first 2 or 3 minutes for all the people to join, because they are, sometimes people, just miss that, the turn of the hour or whatever, or they're still finishing up the last meeting, so they're running from that. Plan your meetings that the real work is not going to start until 5 minutes into it, and also try to conclude and finish so that people have a little bit of time at the end. That they may have been on meetings for the last 2 hours, they need a little bit of a break. So try to finish early. Set check-in reminders. So let me talk a little bit about one of the things that one of my managers used to have me do is she had myself and all of the people that were working on her team. We had a template for meetings to take notes, and that meeting template included who the attendees were, a purpose, briefly list out what the discussion items are, and then what are the next steps. And as far as the next steps go, make sure that you assign somebody, who is going to actually follow up with this, and set a due date. Let's say Yenting, Sarah, and I are on a meeting, we're discussing something, and we get to the point and we say, okay, Sarah and Yenting, they have to break out and they say, well, we have to talk about this and we'll decide what's going on. If I'm facilitating the meeting, I would say, okay, Sarah, we need this for the project. Can you have it by next Friday? And she'll say, okay, yes, I'll have it next Friday. But what I would immediately do is, first off, I would record that in the next steps of the minutes. But I would also go to my calendar, and I would set first off a task or a to-do in there that Sarah's going to come back to me. But I would probably also set something on Tuesday that says, hey, send out an email reminder to Sarah and say, Sarah, this is coming up. Are you going to be able to finish on time? And she may come back and say, oh, you know what? There's a lot of things that come up. But again, you'll know sooner rather than waiting all the way till Friday when it's due to come in. So I mentioned the to-do list. That's a very powerful tool. We all have it, within our mail systems. And again, use that to set tasks, something that you're assigned to do, set it in there. And then this kind of goes back to that first point that I was making, which was look at your week ahead so that you can know, okay, these are things, I promised Yenting that I would have the questions and answers to her by, Wednesday afternoon. Let me record that in there so I know, when it's due and when I need to get it out to her. Okay, let me move on a little bit. And now I'm actually going to step through some of the bites and insights. So there's 4 different topics that I want to cover. And the first is Kanban. So Kanban comes out of lean manufacturing. It was actually developed by Toyota. It was Toyota Production System. And it was developed between just after World War II and the early 1970s. And it was really to perfect the flow of their manufacturing automobiles. What it does is it's a great way to visualize work, which means that everyone on the team, and then also people that are not on the team doing the work, but maybe management, maybe others can actually see what's going on with the work. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to understand. It's also very easy to implement. And the graphic that we have here is very great. And again, this says everything that's needed in order to create a very basic Kanban board. So the first thing is, in the notes are, there's 3 categories that we have: things that we have to do, things that we're doing, and things that we've done. So the first is actually get a whiteboard, and we're going to use sticky notes. And we've also done with that. We've got a bunch of different colored sticky notes. Learn about Kanban. So in order for you to learn about Kanban, here's a couple of links. You can follow up on this. But then the next steps are use this with your team, or maybe for a project or a pilot. Again, so that's what Kanban is. It's used a great deal. Where it works best is where there's what I'm going to call a continuous flow of work. Again, since it came from manufacturing, it's really, how many doors do I have for building these cars, and I want to manage the flow so that I don't have an excess number of doors for the cars that I can build. There have been a lot of additions and tweaking of Kanban boards. They're very powerful. I've seen a lot of great work done with these across all parts of organizations. So I'll move on to the next item, which is retrospectives and feedback. So for retrospectives and feedback, this is for your teams that are doing the work. It's really for that group of people that are working on delivering the project. And what it is generating ideas or process improvements. You answer 3 questions. So as I mentioned in the value-driven, the iterations, when you reach the end of every iteration, so whether your iterations are on a monthly basis or every 2 weeks or every week, you would take a little bit of time and the team would sit down and they would discuss what went well, what didn't go as planned, and then how can we make things better in the future. One of the important things with retrospectives is not to get into what I'll call a blame game. It's not, Yenting, you didn't give this to me on the time that I needed in order to do it. What you're focusing on is the process and the flow. If I would have had the list of keywords sooner, I could have completed this step. Well, what might actually be the problem is that, well, those keywords, they actually came from I'll call it a subcontractor that was doing the work. And, maybe they could have done it when they first put together the bid and the proposal. Oh, we could have provided you with them. Yenting was sitting there, waiting for them to provide that, and they just didn't know. So again, the focus is really on the process and how you can improve the process. So this particular tool works very well for that. Again, several links over here on how to take a look at this, how to determine how to maybe implement retrospectives within your teams, within your organization. I'll move on to the next one. I'm calling it agile meetings. What it actually is in the agile and Scrum world, they refer to stand-ups or the daily Scrum. And what it is holding a very short, and let me stress that, short meeting. We're talking about 10 or 15 minutes. I found myself in what they call Scrum meetings that are lasting 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and people are covering things that really aren't relevant. What you want to talk about is, again, as I say, it's the team that is doing the work, and they want to bring up three things. They want to say, this is what I did yesterday. This is what I'm planning on doing today, and what is blocking me? What is it that, there's something that I need in order to complete my task? Or maybe it's something as basic as, I have too much work on my plate and I can't get this done. If we have our team and, we're all talking about this, someone might sit there and say, well, I have all my things done. I might be able to give you a hand with this. I can help you out. Or if you don't know how to do this, let's meet afterwards and we can talk about it. So again, the stand-up is really just a real quick sync point among the team members. And it is to make sure that you're progressing to complete the project and the iteration within that time. One thing I am going to say is I did put here holding twice weekly stand-ups because I'm kind of picturing how it will go over if you go to your team and you make the suggestion that I want you to start holding a meeting every day. The people are already overworked, overwhelmed, and that's going to be difficult. So again, maybe as a starting point, suggest it, hey, let's twice a week just get together, maybe Tuesday, Thursday, and try to sync up on, how we're progressing with completion of this project. So again, the best practice that's associated with stand-ups and daily Scrum is really coordination among the team and making sure that everyone is working together efficiently and getting to that the value that you're going to deliver at the end of the iteration. Again, there's a number of links right here for more information. You can delve into that a little bit more outside of this talk, and you can see exactly how that might be able to help your organization. The next thing I'd like to talk about is user stories. And a user story is really taking a look at the value that you're delivering from the perspective of the people that are going to receive that. What that's really kind of tied to is taking a different look at it, putting yourself in the shoes of, who is going to receive it. We have something that is called personas, which really talks about this is who the person is, because there may be different people that are I'll say, recipients of what you're working on. There's a card which really talks about this is the value that they need. So what you define a user story as is, as a such and such user, I need this so that I can accomplish, this thing. And I came across an example. I think it would be best if I used that to describe this a little bit more, kind of paint a visual picture for you. So an organization that was redesigning their website, and it was around a course and education calendar. So there was actually three different users. So one was the person that was putting together the education. There was one for membership, and then there was one for marketing teams. So it started off, and it's as an education team member, I need easy access to update individual course pages so that I can keep the content fresh. And then a different user is, as a membership coordinator, I need the ability to upgrade, update, and change course pages so that I can reflect when it's moved to wait list only. And then lastly, as a marketing team member, I need the ability to make course page changes so that I can successfully market a course. And again, three different people that are going to use what you're producing, but each one has a slightly different take. So again, that's what user stories are about. And user stories are the best practice that they are tied to is really gearing the what you're delivering to what is actually needed by the end users. If I go back to I was talking about the waterfall and the value. In the case of a waterfall project, you might make a lot of assumptions at the beginning, and some of your assumptions may be wrong. So that reaffirmment and talking to the end users, validating the points are good. So that is user stories. And with that, what I would like to move on to is kind of a little bit of conclusion on what we've talked about today. So a number of things, and I think one of the things you might be asking is okay, how can I use these to help my nonprofit? So for some of these things, Kanban board. Again, that is a visualization tool. Maybe you could use something like that for the next time you're planning an event. Or if you have, say, your marketing deliverables, social media calendar, something like that, you use a Kanban board to help with the flow of that. Or you could also use it for something like a question and answer line. If there's a number of questions that come in and your organization is constantly answering those, that might be a use for a Kanban board. Retrospectives. You could use retrospectives to help improve your processes. So again, have the teams that are working on the actual project, the delivery, suggest to them that maybe they might want to hold periodic retrospectives. And again, to focus on the processes that you use and how you can improve those moving forward. Stand-ups. You can introduce a stand-up maybe for teams that are either just starting or maybe struggling. But again, stand-up would be a way that teams could work together and collaborate better. And then lastly, the user stories. You could use those as a way to get a better picture on what it is that that you're delivering to your end users, and how it might need to be tweaked. Within my slide here, what I have is actually kind of a catchphrase, which is give your teams a chance to try some of these things. You're going to try them. Some of them may work. Some of them might not work exactly as I've painted here. Some of you may need to tweak to the unique needs of your organization. There's a tenet which talks about fail early, fail often, and that's why I have the fail safe here. So again, let your teams work on some of these things. Maybe it's yourself that is advancing some of these items with teams to improve your work. And with that, let it be known that some of the things that you're going to try might not work exactly the way I planned at first, but tweak it and adjust it and move forward with that. Yenting, with that, I think I've gotten to the end of mine. I have one more slide which covers some of the next steps. So I don't know whether you want to touch on this one.
Yeah. So this one we're talking about Aparo services. So definitely makes sense if I take this on. In a second, I'm going to be putting up a poll. It's going to be completely anonymous. We're not holding you to it, but it's really just to share with you how we can apply Aparo services as you are going through these project management principles and wondering how to apply it and getting support on applying some of these into your nonprofit. So I want to quickly go over our services, and then I'll put up the poll. And again, it'll be completely anonymous. We just kind of want to gauge the interest. So one of our services is tech therapy. This is where we match you one-on-one with a tech therapist to give you some coaching, some guidance, some advice. So what might that look like in project management? Pete talked about the Kanban. He talked about these time management tools. He talked about the retrospectives, which I believe for most of us in nonprofit, we like to call the debrief meetings, the stand-up meetings. How are we going to lead those? So if you want some coaching, some guidance, and just some more knowledge on these principles, we have a lot of great volunteer project managers who would love to have that conversation with you and help support that as you integrate that into your processes. So that might be something you're interested in. We also offer team trainings. So let's say, for example, you are using a project management tool like Asana or Trello or Monday, and you want to get your staff up to speed on that, make sure everyone is on the same page. We've done that before. We've done a customized training specific to the tool that you're using and specific to how the staff is using it. And we've created a customized tailored training so that we can make sure that all your staff are on the same page so that you can move forward and be more effective using those tools. That might be something to consider. And then finally, under our solution services, these are, we help you find solutions to your greater challenges. So let's say, for example, you are looking for project management tools and you realize there are a million options out there and you don't know how to narrow that down, don't know which one to select. So maybe you want to participate in our solutions project. This is where we'll connect you with a volunteer team. They'll go through your needs and make sure that you pick a tool that works for you and your team and have confidence in using that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that poll. Again, completely anonymous, won't hold you to it, but just gauging where your interests might lie. I'll give you guys a few seconds to answer that. Here we got some answers coming in. It seems to be pretty even. A lot of you are interested in the tech therapy and the one-on-one support. There's some interest in education solutions. So yeah, if or when you are ready for support in any of those services, just let us know. We have a lot of great project management volunteers who would love to help you and your team. I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. Thank you so much for answering those. And let's go ahead to Q&A. So as you guys are putting in your questions, we did have a lot of questions that came through registration that we'll kick off with as you guys are typing in your questions. Pete, I want to go over a popular question around those who are interested in taking their project management to the next level, either being certified in project management or learning more about it. Can you talk a little bit about your recommendations for that?
Certainly. So, as I said, project management has been around for many years, and there's a number of organizations that have certifications. You can also from different learning institutions get them. In today's world, what employers are basically looking for is really people that are knowledgeable in the value-driven training. So Agile, Scrum, that is what's really the most I'll say sought after today. So the organizations, there's scrum.org, there's Scrum Alliance, there's SAFe, there's Six Sigma. But a number of these organizations, first off, you can go to their websites and they will look at it. It's some of these are, I'm going to say, relatively easy to obtain the certification that's needed at that. You may need to do a short, training, which can be done online. I know myself, I in just past couple years, I received the professional Scrum Master certification. I did it was, I don't know, 11 hours of self-training or something like that. I studied for the test. I took the test and passed it. So that gives you that's, like you said, one of the early steps. One of the most important things with becoming a project manager or a Scrum Master is actually, managing projects, doing it, and trying some of these things. There's a lot of scholarly work out there. There's things that you can read and try within your organization. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks, Pete. I believe you covered this question during your presentation, but I do want to highlight it. So we had a couple questions coming about doing those check-ins without micromanaging. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's a very good one. Excellent question that came in. And again, some of the things first off are your own nature, or it might be maybe not your nature, but maybe organization above you that they need, constant updates on this. Some of the tools that I mentioned will actually provide a way of delivering some of that information. So I mentioned, a Kanban board. So a Kanban board can be used to actually show progress on a particular project. You can share viewer access with that so that, others within the organization can see that. There's also ways that you can actually, if you use certain tools that are available, there's notifications, and whenever there's an update that's made on this, that can update people that are just monitoring the project or the Kanban board. Again, a lot of times it's information that is really needed. People just kind of want an assurance that the project is progressing. Along with that, that talks about, the reporting upward, the team themselves. So the team that is using the Kanban board has to make regular updates on that as far as, I'm working on this, I completed this task. And, as we had the graphic in there and we moved things across the board, they have to be, kind of, I'll say, diligent in reporting that, okay, first off, I was given the task of, creating a list, I'll call it, like creating a list of keywords first off, I moved that over into the to-do. And then I work on that for a day and then I move it over to done. That way it shows that, okay, the team members are getting things done on the project. So I'll stop with that and see if there's anything else.
Thanks, Pete. So this question came through chat, kind of going back to the next steps in becoming project manager and other certifications. So the comment was, I'm a green belt in Lean Six Sigma and wondering if I should get certification in PMT. I will be managing our implementation plan to address our homeless crisis. Since I will be managing multiple streams of deliverables, would that help me?
So I'll say a little bit about certification, I actually know that one of my colleagues from Project Management International is on the line here, and she coined this quite well. I've known certified project managers that are not that great of project managers, and I've also known people that are not certified that are great project managers, and I would aspire to be as good as what they are. Certification really just means that you studied a body of knowledge and you passed a test on it. There are continuing education requirements that are often tied to that, and that kind of promotes continued education and learning on that. I think what would be more important, based on the way the question came in the chat, was what is important for your organization? Is your organization really geared towards Six Sigma, in which case, further certification along those lines, or maybe one of the agile ones, which I think the agile ones would be easier to obtain sooner, because there's less requirements as far as you have to show a certain amount of work that you have done, what they call it, as a practitioner, hours that you have done as a project manager. If you're relatively new, one of these other certifications might be easier to obtain. And as I was saying, right now, employers are really looking more towards people that are achieving those kinds of certifications. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, so I guess for me to summarize, because I don't know much about the project management space and the certifications, but it sounds like you said that Agile would be the certification to get, and it'll be quicker to achieve. Is that right?
That's correct. Thank you for summarizing it that way.
And that helps in addressing these multiple streams of deliverables and understanding how to manage those. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That would.
Thank you. Okay. We still have about 6 minutes, so please keep those questions coming. I did have one that I wanted to go over. Well, can you share a little bit? I can't find it, but one of the questions that came through registration was about just how to get started So let's talk about a new project is coming in. What are those first few steps that they should take to get started using these project management principles?
Okay, so I'm going to start off with, you've probably been running projects for quite some time, and going to your team and asking your team to change the way they're doing things is difficult. But I would do it in what I'll call baby steps. You might want to take a small project or something you could pilot and say, you know what, we have a fundraising event that's going to occur in June. Maybe use one of these methodologies, use a Kanban board as far as, we're going to use this for this event that we're going to hold. We're just going to try it. It's a small number of people within the organization. We want to see how it goes. We want to perfect it for our particular organization. So I would introduce change slowly is one of the things I would suggest. If you are looking at a brand new project that's coming in, you could take the approach of, okay, we're going to take a much more agile approach to this. So you could start off by first off looking at what is the value, what's the value that this project is going to deliver, and put it in the perspective of those end users. So you would want to do things like I was suggesting, maybe look at developing some user stories, maybe actually going to your stakeholders and validating with them, okay, what is the business reason why we're executing this particular project? What is the goal that we are trying to achieve? What you're going to do is you're going to, I'm not sure I want to call them actually, well, they are sort of the requirements for the project and the goals and the objectives. And then from those, you would go through a process of probably prioritizing them, and then maybe breaking it out and saying, okay, well, if this is going to be a 6-month project in order to accomplish this, how can I break this up into maybe some smaller pieces that I'm going to deliver incrementally. And as I deliver each increment, again, I want to kind of sit down and get some confirmation back that what it is that we're delivering is meeting the need. And then sometimes, as I said, there's a shift that is outside of your control, that may say, well, there's a change now and the direction of the project is going to be slightly different. And again, that's why you're doing those increments and seeking feedback and things like that. So that's kind of a quick rundown on how to start a project. Really, more details and a discussion would really be needed to delve into that a little bit more.
Thank you. I
So
hope
with
that was great. So yeah, we have 2 minutes left. I think we've wrapped up on our Q&A. Pete, thank you so much for this introduction. I could definitely tell it's a project management. It's a lot. There's a lot to it, and you were able to just bring it all together and give us the highlights. So I do really appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
If you guys are interested in learning more, the next one is going to be an intermediate project management. So we're going to talk a bit more about agile. And then the next session after that will be more advanced topics. So do hang on for those. We look forward to seeing Pete again to lead us in those conversations. I will be sending that follow-up email by Monday. That will include this recording, as well as all the resources that we've talked about during this conversation. With that, thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.